Hey y'all, I am so excited to kick off English 2410 with this abstract exploration of literature. Just from looking at the syllabus, we know that this class focalizes on selections of literature chronologically through specific time periods, and we're going to be sampling some of this literature from the oldest we know of until the English Renaissance with Shakespeare, which surveys thousands of years. Our Introduction to Literature video series is broken up into 3 parts: why we should read, how we define classic literature, and what it will all mean for a globalized Western experience as students and civilians and good citizens. Here in this video, part 1, we will explore the spiritual essentials of literary studies, specifically as they overlap with our journey through foundational texts in the Western world, what to keep in mind in our role as readers, and what our lives ought to mean as a result. At the outset, I'd like to set the tone that reading literature is a timeless activity that connects us to worlds and long gone, at least we think, from our immediate perception. Such dedication to the written word is virtuous, especially in our pursuits of wisdom, knowledge, and courage. Reading and literature invites us to understand why certain traditions and values prevail, paradoxically, and challenges to the status quo of the past and present. More realistically, though, I'll frame our time together with this. It's not only a grand, maybe even divine gesture to read literature, but it is also a practical one. Some of you may be pragmatists in the room who gravitate toward technical skills, and it may seem like literature's value isn't quantifiable. For instance, when we read the Iliad, readers are invited to identify with a slew of characters, including Achilles when he suffers a loss. We recognize in ourselves how the epic poem changes our actions or informs how we perceive war, perhaps, in contrast to how war operated in ancient Greece as opposed to now. We are invited to compare and contrast our own perception and experience with Achilles' rage and pursuit of glory, but the question always remains, how is this useful? That character identification that I referred to about Achilles is difficult to express in numbers, through concrete terminology or impersonal terminology sometimes, or even with a perfect graph. So, what do we do with it? To me, the most natural ways to really quantify the value of literature is to first talk about it beyond what happens. The second way is to write about it. If we could collect all our conversations and writing topics, then we could find trends about how the literature is valuable, most of all, in our connection to others and ourselves. Overall, the most compelling practical uses of reading literature is, indeed, community building and self-discovery. To dig a little deeper into the biological and social uses of literature today, I've asked students to watch the Beth Ann Fennelly TED Talk. If you haven't done so, then I recommend that you pause here, watch it, and then return to this video when you're ready. Our brains chemically and structurally crave exercise. Reading fuels its gains, if you will. Plus, it won't hurt a bit to be the smartest person in the room who can read social dynamics with a sense of history and psychoanalytic depth in an unpretentious way, because as Machiavelli will teach us several weeks from now, power is accrued during quiet observation and reflection. What I hope Fennelly's speech showed us is that even the literature may be popularly received as like a side dish or rather than the main course itself, it really is the main course that we crave neurologically. Our brains need that kind of interaction. Lastly, empathy is not a goal that we work toward, folks. It's a wrench in our toolbox to understand and to solve problems, large and small, interpersonal and global, even though all tools may seem like a side dish. We put our tools in our toolbox and they're there in like little bitty pieces. From that and from those pieces and from them, you can make up all the tools that are going to help you fix the problem, but sometimes one main tool can actually get the job done. Our practical route to our development as human beings and to being strong problem solvers in the workplace or at home or with family without having to take too many risks or put ourselves in danger like these fictional characters will and do. Reading literature and living vicariously through others allows us to understand why we are the way that we are. So, I really hope that you enjoyed that TED Talk, and I encourage you to look at her poetry in your recreational time. It really is beautiful. We've come to the end of part one that covers why we read. Please continue to part two, where we will explore a key question of our semester. What makes a classic? See you there.